Hi, this is James and Sarah with The Full Life. We are going to talk today in our video about our educational paths and the lessons we've learned along the way. So we thought we'd share that with you today. Do you want to start?
I guess I can start. So I've pretty much been a student at some point in time, off and on, since kindergarten. I haven't really stopped going to school. I have multiple graduate degrees. I am a learner by nature, and I enjoy the scholastic endeavors that the collegiate level brings. But unfortunately, school's not cheap, and I ensued a massive amount of college debt, up into the hundreds of thousands. And so we'll talk a little bit later about what we did about that. So go ahead, Sarah.
I also have gone to school for a while. In particular, I've gotten a few degrees along the way, where I started with an associate's degree and then a bachelor's and then a graduate degree. We actually met our first year of college at a small private college in Minnesota here, where I attended 1 year and then left. But that was where we met, was in college.
Yep.
And then along the way, while I was in college, I also worked part-time in order to make up for the costs, in addition to the student loans that I received. So that was kind of how I financed my education with my various programs and degrees, was through work as well as some student loans. So I did incur student debt along the way as well.
You should tell your favorite, or at least my favorite, college story of how you survived getting your associate's degree. Just describe a little bit about what you ate, for example.
So my associate's degree, I was quite poor. I didn't have a very good paying job, and school was expensive at the time. So I lived on Pop-Tarts for a good semester at least, where I would, the 2-pack, the Pop-Tart that comes in the pack. I would eat one in the morning and then one when I got home from school that day. So that's how I rationed my Pop-Tarts.
And that's how she kept her student loans down as well. So
yeah.
If you're wondering, you're a poor college student, you're like, how do I keep my student loans down? Well, you eat one Pop-Tart a day and split it in half or something of that nature.
And I would still, I had a social life. I would go out with friends. I just maybe wouldn't buy any food when we went to restaurants. I would get, water, and I would still enjoy socializing and being out with people, but I just couldn't afford to partake in that meal, which was a bummer at the time, but it was still worth going out and seeing friends, and in the long run, it made me a better person for doing that.
Yep. And so I did not do that. I did work, but unfortunately, working full-time just paid my living expenses, so I had to get student loans. And as some of you may know, as you get higher from your bachelor's, it just gets more expensive.
Yep, that's
so
true.
The master's level more expensive than the bachelor's level, the bachelor's level more expensive than the associate, the doctorate way more expensive than the master's.
Yeah.
And depending on what kind of field you're in, they even have a higher cost for the type of education you're receiving.
Yeah.
And so we started our marriage with more than $100,000 worth of debt, and it was mostly my debt. And the interesting part was that ended up being about, in case you're totaling this up in your mind, that was about $1,000 a month, I would say.
And the required monthly payments was
Yep.
just over $1,000 a month.
Yep.
And when you're newly married, that's a big part of your budget, and it can take a big toll on your finances and your relationship as well.
And we wanted to be generous. We consider ourselves generous people, and it really put a damper on being generous when you have nothing to be generous with other than your time, which we still did, but we wanted to be generous financially.
Yeah.
So we got this brilliant idea, Sarah did, to read a book. What was the name of the book?
So I read The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and we decided to take a few of those principles, in particular how he suggests paying off of debt, to heart, and we implemented them in our lives.
Yep. So some of the things that we did, and it was crazy. If you're sitting there going, oh wow, they just must have had a lot of money. No, we did some crazy things. So for example, we sold our 3,000 square foot home and moved into a 400 square foot apartment right off the bat. We sold a vehicle and we went down to one car.
Yeah.
I not only worked full time, but I took a part-time job. We paid all of our life savings towards the debt.
Yep. And we sold all of our vacation time.
We sold all of our vacation time. Every gift that we got from family members, birthday checks, whatever you could think of, we paid towards it. All of our extra cash we paid towards our loans. And another thing that we did was we just lived frugally. We didn't do a lot of things. We just chilled out in our 400 square foot apartment and basically watched Netflix pretty much all the time. And went to the library. Went to the library a lot to get books and movies and so because of that, we were able to pay almost all that debt down to almost nothing.
Yeah.
And so
we're still working on it. We still live on a fairly tight budget, and we still try to be fairly frugal with our finances. Even though our monthly debt payment is less, we still have some to go. So we are continuing to work on that. And we say all this in that, you know, education is important, and you can work at it in different ways, but you also have to pay it off eventually. So that's what we wanted to share about our educational experience.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it. So if you would like to hear more witty and pithy things about how to survive as a millennial, go ahead and subscribe below. All right, take care.
Bye.